everyone, my name is Eula and today we're gonna read the new book and the new stories called Stuart Little. And today we're gonna start reading at the first page. Holding forward. And the end of reading at the next chapter, okay? Now, are you ready for read this one book and a lot of stories? And now here we go. And first you can read Stuart Little. Starting at forward chapter. I go back through every book. I love to hunt for this questionable sentence. In Stuart Little, I found it parked on the top of the page 28, just above the Garth Williams' delightful illustration of Stuart hitching a ride in the pants coat of an expecting bus rider. This line perfectly captures E and B, White's charm and the skill that embodies the tone and the theme of the story. In short, it's the sentence that explains why, 75 years after the original publication, readers are still carrying their copies pressed tightly with their chest and writers are still falling on their knees. And admiration, it reads, I'm not tall enough to be noticed, Dwight Stuart, yet I am tall enough to want to go to 72nd Street. The first thing that strikes me is the order of the two precious. Ilium Brooks and Dwight knew that order matters. The title of this book, after all, is not a little short, but short, and little before you even open the book. The order makes the point that little does not define short. Instead, short defines little. Children too know that order matters from an early age, that understand that in the sentence like that, what comes after the yet is dominant force, the wall of reality that will be blocked in the dream of what comes before a conjunction. How hurtling then for them not to read. I want to go to 72nd Street, Stuart thought to himself. Yet I'm not tall enough to be noticed. The more explicit order. Too bad, kid. The sentence with that more expect order says you want things, but you're small. Is a message that every kid hears over and over. White was a small man himself, so slight that at 18 he could not enlist at the military because he didn't weigh enough, so he knew how it felt to be judged too little. Its empathy shines through in the way he ordered to the presses, and the message is flipped. Too bad word, his sentence says. I'm small, but I want things. He respect for the kids to shine through too. White never glosses over the mouse boy's challenges, but neither does he allow to assert any woe is meaning. Stuart is clear-eyed before the Stygian, but under terror tears out and as if his dreams. And in fact, right there on the page 28, he is about to turn what most consider his negative to positive and in the classic hero fashion. I'm not tall enough to be noticed, Dwight Stuart. Yet I'm tall enough want to go to 72nd Street. It's such a good sentence. It could easily open the book, but White knew the thing too about openings. His charity web begins with "Where is Papa going with that axe?" and feared to her mother as they were sitting at the table for breakfast, which stands as one of the finest first sentences of her writing. What with that axe in it? And the actual opening line of Stuart Little has a pretty sharp edge. So also when Mrs. Frederick C. Little's second son arrived, everyone noticed that he was not much bigger than a mouse. And White was right to give us some backstory. When a kid arrives in a mouse body, well, that's a bit of an information. A thing like a tends to shape like a character and determine one's path. Except for this case, the story is that it didn't. Not at all. Stuart's family, except to the Obsidian, without perceiving on it, and they get on with life. Tone perfectly captured with Queen Sternal's line. "I am not tall enough to be noticed," shrugged Stuart. "Yet I'm tall enough I want to go to the 72nd Street." The writer, he admires of a sentence specifically too. The 72nd Street Stuart wants to go to, not just out, which implies a mystery. Why 72nd Street? I can't help wondering as I turn the page to find it. Well, it turns out absurd. It's seeking a great adventure, and it feels like a 72nd Street is a place from which to be launched. And Stuart Little is a book about setting out E and B, wide open, impressed to love to be beginnings, births, sprouting, and hatches out of all sorts. As a young man, he took a road trip, much like the one Stuart embarkers upon, setting out with no plan other than to find out what they lay ahead. And White wrote often about that road trip, about the road, not knowing what each morning might bring. Stuart Little himself to be beginning, White's first book for young readers. Maybe it makes me smile to learn that when he submitted to this manuscript, his told this editor, and it would be seen to be for children. But I'm not fussy about who reads it. I think it's an invention of all this us to pick it up this book whenever for our first of 100 first time. And we get to the sentence on the page 28, you will hear E and B, White, quoting, "No matter our size, we should put on our adventure pants, set our faces so wind is fresh, our liquors and chicks, and get our bus 72nd Street, or whenever our stories will be launched." Now, I think this is just a progress. The writer have write it down. This is just a progress, but this is it take a very long seconds to read this all of them now. So we're gonna start reading 1. In the Drain, chapter 1, In the Drain. Tomorrow we're gonna start reading it there. Wow, it looks very fun. I think there's some little mouse. Is this a mouse? I think at the progress it says the mouse. So this mouse maybe is the Stuart Little, because the name is a Stuart, but he's little, so the last name is Little maybe. So we're gonna see that fun and very fun and very, very fun stories. Very fun stories for tomorrow. Okay? Now bye bye everybody and have a nice day. Bye!